gets into the 95 of Folks. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona, and away go for the first time. Nicholas Porcel, Sean.
Looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Dom's, possibly a little bit of contact.
Now as we've got three wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
Go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
Just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
New stuff. Cody Graham's the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Oklahoma International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons. Good evening, race fans, and welcome to round number 4 of the Team Goon Squad 2023 Endurance Series. We are here in the 2023 A portion of this year's series. And folks, we are here today at Road Atlanta, and it is going to be fantastic. 3 hours of racing here today. My name is Mason Heimball with Team Goon Squad, bringing you the action here today. 1080p, 60 frames a second, nice and early on a Saturday evening. And I gotta say, I'm a huge fan of that. Gotta love racing earlier in the day for us folks here on the, well, in Eastern Standard Time. But anyhow, let's go ahead and get into some of the action that we look forward to here today. And folks, this action is brought to you here today by the Lap Zero podcast. Great to have these guys on board for today's broadcast, and great to have more support outside of the drivers themselves that show up to race in this series and all the folks that put it together. So great to have everyone supporting the series. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and go into our starting lineups for today's race here today. Moving into our LMDh class here today, starting off in the front row is Daniel Beauchamp with Nick Terrell. James Vance and Michael Fairchild going to be in our second row. Andrew Neri and Nick Adishvili, excuse me if I'm getting these incorrect here, in the third row. Lofter Thompson, Alex Penn in our fourth row. Dylan Meyer, Brandon Ray going to be in our fifth row. Atticus Middleton and Nathan Gardner in our sixth row. Moving on down here. And I believe that will round out our LMDh class here. And moving into our GT3, it'll be Finley Fitzsimmons and Marco Schmitz, Darren Rutherford and Brett Kingcott, Christian Glamster and Niels Blauwickel. In 17th and 18th, Renato. I'm just going to get all of these names incorrectly here today, but that's A-okay. Renato Koisev and Blakis Robinson in 19th and 20th. 21st is Brock Goodall. 22nd is Adam Walk. In 22nd, Oscar Yergerson. In 23rd, Nicholas Matcham in 24th. Christopher Norris going to be in 25th. Norman King in 26th. David Schmidt in 27th. Carlos Thiel in 28th. James East in 29th. Jeremy Barber in 30th. And Scott Cooper taking 31st. And what a doozy that was here, folks. But we have made it through it, and we are just awaiting for that green flag to drop here, or at least for the safety car to start to make its way for the parade lap here at Road Atlanta and get ourselves set up for what will be the first broadcasted race of the season here for these drivers, and really for the entirety of the Team Goon Squad Endurance Series. It is great to have not only a first-time broadcast here for the series, but also to have a first chance for these drivers to be able to get their races shown on the big screen. And I do apologize here if we see a little bit of stuttering here and there. Hopefully that seems to work itself out over time, but we will just have to wait for that to happen here. But again, as I was talking about, folks, this is the 4th round of the series. There have already been 3 races in this schedule. First race was at Sebring, where we had the 3 hours of Sebring. Excuse me, when I said 4, it was 3 races. The last race was the 3 hours of Brazil at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace Grand Prix. So here at Road Atlanta, myself as a driver, I have quite little experience at, as I don't get quite as much road course racing as I would personally like to, but hey, can't exactly win them all here. But we do get to experience what these drivers have here at Road America, and I gotta say, I am rather excited to see what these guys have in store as we get ourselves ready to go. And just a few more turns left before we see the pace car make its way down into pit road, and we let the first round of drivers off for the first time. As drivers approach turn 10, the chicane here at turn 10 through 11 and 12. And the last final right-hander into turn 1. Daniel Beauchamp, Nick Terrell again taking the front runner here. The front row in the LMDh class as they get prepared to go green for the very first time here at Road Atlanta. Great shot of the field as we see them hit the gas, and down they go, heading off into turns really through the S's here, through 1 and all the way through 2, 3, and 4. Daniel Beauchamp going to take the lead off of this one, as James Vance, Nick Terrell going to take 2nd and 3rd. Rest of the field trying to sort themselves out here, going to find where they're going to sit here. A few battles happening towards the midfield at this moment. Daniel Beauchamp seeming to have some issues here, as he has ruined the front right of that number 9 machine, and that is going to be the end of Beauchamp Racing here, unfortunately for Daniel. And you can see which driver is in the current car that you can see on the left-hand side of your screen. Along with the car number as well, so you can easily identify which car is which. But we're currently looking at James Vance up in the front of the LMDh class. But as we start to take a look here at the GT3, Finley Fitzsimmons with Team MFM looking to have a better day here, as he's currently leading the field. Marco Schmitz, Darren Rutherford, both going to be 2nd and 3rd. Finley Fitzsimmons leading with the Mercedes. Marco Schmitz in the Ferrari. Darren Rutherford in the Lamborghini. Scott Cooper, I believe, also in the GT class, having some issues here, going to find himself down in pit road. But battles continue to happen throughout the field here in both the LMDh and the GT3 class. Seeing a little bit of separation here between some of the field, and you can really see that start to happen down on the bottom right-hand side of your screen with the track map. Here as we are taking a look here with Christian in the number 18 machine, currently sitting 4th place in the GT3 class. Both Finley Fitzsimmons and Marco Schmitz, the first and second place drivers here in the GT3s, both have managed to pull away from this field, along with Darren Rutherford as well, in a small sense here, as Darren is still trying to navigate his way ahead of this pack that's starting to close in behind him. But whether or not he will be successful in doing so remains to be seen. Again, 3 hours that we expect to be here at Road Atlanta, and we're only just getting started and already having a couple casualties down in pit road, looking to hopefully get themselves back out on track before too long. Atticus Middleton here showing he's gotten himself into a little bit of an off-track incident a couple times here. Not sure if there was an incident prior to that, but seems to be everything is a-okay here for the 107 driver, currently in 9th place here in the LMDh class. And for Team Random Squid Racing, he will be the first driver, the first stint here, well, among some of the teams here. Some drivers are doing the whole race by themselves, the whole 3 hours. Other teams looking to fill in some seat time, as well as just give all of their drivers a chance to compete here in the series. And a great thing to see. So many teams, so many drivers coming to the series and wanting to participate here with Team Goon Squad, and all of us here that have been with Team Goon Squad for a while now, to see a lot of new faces, a lot of fresh racers. Great thing to see. It seems to be we've got a battle here for 8th place. Michael Fairchild, Atticus Middleton, both going to duke it out here for that 8th place spot. Fairchild going to back off here, and excuse me when I say Atticus, that is Brandon Ray. In that 7th place spot, it is the battle in 7th for the LMDh class, as Brandon Ray continues to fend off Fairchild. And a bit of a gap starting to form up, and that is quickly closed here through the S's. Fairchild able to get right on the rear end. Here, as we'll get a little bit of a look on board here with Fairchild in the number 16 machine and get a inside look. There on the bottom right-hand side, you can see just how fast we are going at this moment, heading into turn number 5. Or excuse me, not turn number 5, that is in fact turn number 10, as we go through the final turn and across the checkered line. A little bit of traffic here that they're going to have to navigate their way through here, and GT3 drivers all knowing that they have to just hold their line, not be in the way, be predictable. There's a car off track here. Norman King seems to be the one involved in this one, as he's going to take it back, get himself on track as quickly as he can here. Get themselves situated and back in order, and try and keep himself clear of other cars out on track here at the moment. But so far, everything is smooth. Smooth sailing for the majority of this field. Only a few drivers have found themselves in predicaments here, but most of the field still running, with the exception of Daniel Beauchamp, who is unfortunately found himself in an early race incident and had to find himself down in the pits for nearly 7 minutes now at this point, and hopefully before too long is able to see that number 9 machine back out on track and hopefully be able to continue to fight for points here in this battle. And we've got some action continuing to form up here in the LMDh class, but meanwhile there's also action happening here in the GT3s. A little bit of contact here. Not sure if those two are teammates or just happen to be the same colors. They actually do seem to be a pair of teammates here with Blakis Robinson as well as Brock Goodall, both with Bong Racing Team. I'm sorry. That's a good one. But all of them competing within the top 10 at this moment for the GT3, so all of them giving it their all here in the first 10 minutes of the race, and we'll see how this progresses. And as this, frankly, this is a great track for drivers to have battles at, to get the field nice and kind of jumbled up, and for things to get a little wild, a little chaotic. And so far, I am all for it. I want to take a moment here to thank everyone for tuning in, all of you who have shown up for the broadcast here today. This is also a free-to-enter series, and so everyone that's showing up here tonight, everyone that is racing, all of this is happening because of your support, so thank you all because of that. And it looks to be we've got LMD drivers trying to make their way around traffic here, and I gotta say, this is just making things chaotic for these drivers. And I want to take a moment here. Let's see if we can ride on board with Alex Penn here, with the Penn Sport 24/7 24 machine, navigating his way around traffic, around the final turn, and across the checkered line, heading back into turn number 1. And we'll see how Alex Penn handles a lap here at Road Atlanta. Seems to be Nick Terrell with the Penn Sport 81 machine having some trouble there, as he reporting to us in the booth that he has crashed. Not exactly certain what happened there. We'll have to see if we can take a look, but we've got quite the battle happening here as Michael Fairchild right on the rear end of Alex Penn, trying to see if he can make some moves here to put himself into the top 5. Oh, a little bit of a touch to the rear end as they continue their fight here. Going down the straight of 9, heading into the chicane of turn number 10. Michael Fairchild, we have seen, or at least I have seen briefly, able to capitalize in the braking zones here, as there appears to be a yellow flag being flown out on track. That is definitely so let's take a look and see just the reasoning here for the yellow flag. So there is a car stopped on the track here, and that is definitely cause for the yellow flag here. That is not a situation that any driver wants to see. Yeah, drivers trying to cautiously make their way around here. And Scott Cooper here in the number 19 Lamborghini trying everything he can here to get this car restarted, but to no avail. We'll have to go back to our live camera here and see if Scott Cooper was able to. Does not appear so. It looks like he's actually taken it behind the wall and out of the race here. So I'm not certain that he is going to continue on for the rest of the night. There might have been a black flag served. I'm not exactly 100% certain here. We do have a little bit of information that can be told to us from race control, but I'm not 100% certain what we will find out from that at this point in time. So the field is going to get reset here. Drivers going to get themselves ready to go for another green flag stint here, another green flag run. And you can see on the bottom right-hand side of your screen where drivers are currently and where we are currently on the track. And how much time will be left before we get ourselves across the checkered line. But lights are still on the safety car, so it will be some time before we make it back to green flag racing here. So in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and talk about some of the previous racing that we have had here with the Team Goon Squad Endurance Series, and kind of talk a little bit about yes, the past races that we had here, and the first of which being Sebring, where we saw Joe Spencer being the overall winner in both for the race itself as well in the LMDh class. So Joe Spencer doing a phenomenal job in the number 66 machine, taking the win there. And in for the GT3 class, it was Finley Fitzsimmons in the Mercedes in the number 13, taking home the win here for the GT3 at Sebring. And after that, we head to Autodromo. Jose Carlos and Blaz Tarowski took home the win, the overall win, as well as the win for the LMDh, and taking home the win for the GT3 was Jorgen Grandal for that win for the GT3. So already we've seen quite a bit of battles happening throughout this season already behind the scenes. Well, not necessarily behind the scenes, but outside of the broadcast that folks at home get to watch. And I gotta say, if I wasn't up here in the booth, I would probably be down on the track racing in this myself. So while we have a little bit of time here, and while we are awaiting for the field to get themselves back in order here, we're going to go ahead and bring a driver up into the booth here and have a little bit of an interview. You might be familiar with him. You might have heard his name, James East, up here in the booth with me. James, welcome to the booth. Great to have you. Great to have a familiar voice, a familiar friend up here with me. And James, just kind of tell me a little bit about the action out there. It seems to be rather chaotic here at Road Atlanta, but it also seems to be perfect for what we're doing here today, given the number of drivers that we have in the field, over 30 drivers, if I'm not mistaken. Just absolutely great to see the series doing so well, and seeing the turnout here for this particular race doing so well. But I'm going to quit jabbering. James, tell me a little bit about what your experience is like here at Road Atlanta and what you hope to do here tonight.
Yeah, I'll see if I can hit all those points in rough order. Yeah, you're right. Super busy racetrack. I think one of the biggest grids we've ever had. And seeing it in practice, we kind of knew it was going to be a little bit hectic out on track with how many incidents we had, mostly between the different pace drivers. I mean, not just the classes, but a very diverse skill set here. So if from pros to your average guys. And I think that's what we saw the caution come out here for. One of the newer drivers, up-and-coming drivers that's still working on racecraft, kind of tried to hop out of the way of a faster class car, and it got really exciting really quickly, and now we're under eye-pacing conditions. But, I mean, it's super busy out on track. There's been some great racing, some clean racing. For the most part, everybody's been pretty relaxed and taking it easy, but, I mean, we're 12 laps into this thing, and just, I think, 19 minutes of a 3-hour race, so we'll see if I'm still as chipper at the end of it.
You know, and I think you speak for a lot of teams, a lot of drivers here today as well. You know, it's still early. We're seeing a lot of kind of early race incidents that I think a lot of drivers are just kind of getting the quirks wiggled out here, getting themselves comfortable for the most part. Again, like I mentioned, it just seems quite chaotic out on track at the moment. Just a lot of drivers getting into traffic with one another. It's definitely not a place for beginners, if you will, but it's definitely unfortunate to hear that situation with a newcomer coming in and unfortunately getting a little flustered, if you will. But James, it's great to hear that so far everything's going well for yourself. And what are we expecting here? I mean, currently you're sitting, looks to be 12th in the GT3, so sitting about midfield. I mean, how are you feeling going forward for the next, let's just say for the next stint, if you will, before you find yourself having to come down into the pits, getting tires, fuel, and things like that?
Yeah, I think I've got about 20 more laps or so left on fuel. We just opted to stay out. The big goal today is, I mean, ideally a top 10, but if I can finish this thing with a clean race car, I'll be ecstatic. So yeah, top 10 or a clean race car, either way, I'm gonna consider that a success on my end.
Well, James, I'm glad to hear, man. It's great to have you up here in the booth. I'm excited to have you up here, and I'm excited to see you out here in the race itself. Great to see you out there in that beautiful Ferrari. But James, I'm gonna let you get ready to go back to green, because I think you guys are just about ready to do so, as it seems you guys are getting shuffled around here. But James, good luck to you out there, and hopefully you and the rest of the Team Goon Squad guys also do well here tonight, and hopefully take home a W in our own in-house series.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you to all the fans, as well as those supporting the East Action Sports Ferrari on this one. So, yeah, thank you guys.
Absolutely, James. Thanks for being up here, and hopefully get to talk to you again tonight.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Alrighty, folks. So that was James East, the owner, the founder of Team Goon Squad, and a driver here in today's race in the 355 machine. And so we're getting a look at that here as, again, the field getting themselves a little shuffled around, everyone getting themselves into the correct spots here as, again, we're getting ready to go back to green flag racing as we are just over 20 minutes into the race here today. So not a whole lot of time that will be spent, well, let me rephrase that. Hopefully not a whole lot of time will be spent in yellow flag conditions, and hopefully we will get to see more green flag racing, as I was mentioning with James, talking about here. Hopefully the early race jitters, we'll call them, get worked out for a lot of this field, and everyone gets themselves ready to go and ready for a relatively long 2.5 hours that we are expected to see here. And so far it seems, I think, everyone besides Daniel Beauchamp and there's someone else missing here. Perhaps not. Nope. Okay, so there's a couple drivers that are looking to get themselves caught back up here to the rest of the pack before we go green, but I think we are still, we are still going to have another lap around here, another couple laps actually, as the lights are still on. the safety car, so that is a good indicator that we will still be under yellow flag conditions, just still making sure that everyone is in their proper spots and where they need to be. So taking a look at the conditions here today, right now wind speed is not really a huge factor in today's race, so we're not going to be seeing any drivers getting pushed around by the wind or anything of that nature, with a relatively subtle wind of 8 miles an hour here today. 75 degrees is our air temperature here, so a nice cool day here in Atlanta, Georgia. So a great day for racing with a 90-degree track temperature. So ideal conditions for racing, I would have to say. And I think a lot of these drivers may agree with me, depending on who you ask. If it's any one of the drivers that have found themselves in a little bit of trouble, that might not be the case, but I could be wrong. I have been wrong before. So let's see how this restart is going to be taken by this field and see if any drivers are going to be able to improve on anything on this restart. If there's any mistakes that they may have made during the first run, if you will, that they would like to see fixed or resolved this time around, as the lights are indeed off on the safety car, and we get ready to go back to green flag racing here in just a moment. And away we go here for the LMDh class. James Vance, Lofter Thompson, both going to be up in the front row, fighting for first and second. It's a battle for second here. Lofter Thompson going to get the short end of the deal here as he falls back to third place. Andrew Neri, Michael Fairchild, fourth and fifth place here. Sounds like there might have been a little bit of contact. There indeed was, as there's drivers off track here. Nick Adishvili, I hope I said that correctly. And the number 26 machine here involved in this one. Brandon Ray also involved in the number 22. Here with Team TWR. Going to try and quickly get themselves caught back up here to the rest of the pack and not let themselves fall victim. Ooh, a little bit of trouble with traffic here. GT3 drivers trying to work their way around one another, as we've got good action up here for the top five. Darren Rufford gonna make quick work here of I believe Blakis Robinson. Nope, that is Niels Blauwickel in the number 15 Ferrari that was unfortunately had two passes made against him here. Blakis Robinson, Darren Rufford, both making relatively easy work here. Great driving that we're seeing throughout this field, and I gotta tell you, this is great racing. Just behind him, we've got side-by-side action as I go just a little bit further back than I wanted to here, but drivers all lined up, stacked up behind him. Let's take a look on board here with Niels Blauwickel. Real good look on board here with Niels in the 15 Ferrari with Team Bluebird Racing. Darren Rutherford in the 213 just up ahead. You can see in the Lamborghini. Going to be just under a second, just over 3/4 at this moment. Actually now increasing as they work their way through the S's. If we take a look here for the battle for 4th place in class that we can see at this moment, Blakis Robinson, they're in that 4th place spot. You can see with Bong Racing Team in the 265 currently holding on to the 4th place spot as we've got trouble here. Darren Rutherford involved in this one. We got to go back and take a look at that because that came out of nowhere for these drivers. Let's see if we can get another look here as bit of contact from Nick Adishvili. I think that's right. But unfortunate contact between those two, and fortunately though, neither of them seeming to have suffered too much damage. So hopefully that will not come into play here for their race here as more contact from the number 26 driver with Nero Racing, seemingly not quite able to escape the wrath of the GT3s here tonight. I keep saying tonight as if it's 8 o'clock at night, but realistically, that's what I'm used to when I am broadcasting, so I guess I'm just force of habit. But either way, Nick Adishvili apologies as I lose my train of thought there. That is the woes of being a single-man broadcaster sometimes, but we're back to the action here. And right now, I gotta say, the field is starting to see the separation that I was really expecting to see earlier at the start of today's event, but really, it seems to have taken place here in the second half, or, well, not necessarily the second half, but in the second restart, if you will, but only by a little bit. When I say separation, if we look at gap times here, let's go ahead and take a look at that. So when I'm speaking of kind of gaps between drivers, you can see the distance in the deltas here on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. So Marco Schmitz is currently, let's take a look here. So we're currently locked on here with Nick Adishvili, and he is about 6 seconds away from Marco Schmitz at this moment, and that's kind of what I mean when there's a bit of a gap between drivers. For those of you that aren't familiar with racing or kind of new to the broadcast, anything of that nature. Hopefully that information helps at least one person out there, but if it doesn't, oh well, I try. Anyway, anyhow, the top three here, well, some of the LMDh here starting to close in on one another. Andrew Neri gonna make the pass up into 9th place here around the 26 machine, and Andrew Neri also going to have, I believe that is Daniel Beauchamp. It is Daniel Beauchamp right on his tail, trying to get himself back into the mix of things, but Daniel is suffering massively. As far as laps go, he is down quite a bit here. Andrew Neri, I think, going to let Daniel on by, as, to be completely honest, if Daniel hadn't made that mistake, things probably would be a little bit different at this moment here. But unfortunately, things do happen, regardless of how much time you put in as a driver or how much experience you have. Everyone can fall victim to it. But let's take a look at some of the action here forming up here in the GT3s, as we've got Christian Glamsiter and with Cripps Racing here in the number 18 BMW. That beautiful orange and blue. Love those colors. Going to be smack dab in the middle between Brock Goodall and Nicholas Matcham. Brock Goodall in the 266 Mercedes with Bong Racing Team. Nicholas Matcham in the Audi with Serial Offenders in the number 68. Machine Gun Mogi, yes indeed. James East is racing in this one. And currently the number 355 Machine kind of just hanging out in the field in that number 355 Ferrari. He is doing phenomenal here, just trying to keep himself green and clean. That's the name of the game for most of us here at Team Goon Squad. And James East, being the owner and founder of TGS, I think personifies that the best here. And while we have this a little bit of time here to enjoy the racing, enjoy what we have happening out on track at the moment, I want to give a shout out, give a thank you to our broadcast sponsor here today, the Lap Zero podcast. Huge thank you to David from Lap Zero. Great to have these guys on board and being a supporter here of the series and of the broadcast as well. And if you are interested in taking a listen to what they have to offer, if you are interested in any sort of motorsport podcast, give them a listen. They are available on almost every streaming platform that you can possibly think of, and they usually have episodes coming out every Wednesday or around that margin. Just go ahead and give them a follow, and make sure to give them a shout out and let them know that you appreciate what they've done and what they continue to do for not only motorsports, but for helping ourselves to bring these events and to bring these broadcasts for everyone watching at home. And just so everyone knows, we will have a little bit of a word here with David from Lab Zero before too long, when the time is right. But stay tuned, stick around, because we will be having a word with other drivers throughout this race. We'll be talking to drivers from other teams, as well as our sponsor, the Lap Zero podcast. So make sure you guys stick around. There's plenty to see here today at Road Atlanta for round number 4 of the 2023 Team Goon Squad Endurance Series. Thank you all once again for tuning in. Those of you who are watching on the live stream, it's great to have everyone here, and everyone that is participating in the chat. Great to have everyone here. Love to see all the interaction and all the support for our drivers here today. But let's go ahead, while we have a little bit of time here, we have plenty of time. We have all the time in the world here. Let's take a look at some of our times here and see what's going on for our field. And you can see the drivers that are down a lap, who's fighting 4 laps back, who's going down laps, so on and so forth. And so far, out of the 12 drivers in the LMDh, there's 8 that are still on the lead lap. And right now with lap times of about, well, we'll say about 1 minute and 10 seconds, I would say there are 3 drivers that are in danger of getting lapped themselves here before too long. And while that isn't a big deal, not a huge deal, usually you're fighting for position, not overall laps, but it is ideal to be on that lead lap as close as you possibly can here, being that endurance racing has a little bit of a different dynamic to it, and something that I'm going to have to work on myself as a broadcaster, learning all the ins and outs of, and learning how to bring the best show possible for all of you folks watching at home. But hopefully so far things are sufficing for all of you, and hopefully the action has been exciting, because I gotta say it has been exciting for me up here in the booth. And seems to be a few laps ago, James East did have a bit of a moment on lap 24, or it seems to be he is on lap 24. So let's take a look here and see what happened here to the 355 East Action Sports Machine. As right now, he's the only driver, or really one of the only driver in the past few laps to have had anything happen. Let's see if it was anything major. As we saw, he was still ooh, little side. Oh, wow, that was close. Very good recovery, able to get the car moving again and back in order. But just a little bit of a slide job and a little bit too close to another car on track, but everything is a-okay here for James East and the 355. So hopefully nothing happens from that. Michael Fairchild is the next driver here in our timing and scoring to have a bit of a something happen to him. 16 driver still moving out here on track, so I can't imagine that it was anything too bad. But you also never really know here. Absolutely loving the speed here of these LMDh cars. I personally have not been able to drive them myself, but just watching these guys rip them around track, and Carlos Thiel goes off track. If I can find a camera angle on him, I believe that was Carlos Thiel that did that here in the Ford GT with that beautiful Ford GT banner. I love it. Carlos, you probably have my favorite car on the track at the moment. Well, that might change though over time depending on who else's paint scheme I actually get a good look at. I do love the Escape from Tarkov sponsor there on the rear quarter panel. That's a nice touch. But here in the GT3s, Niels Blauwickel and Blakis Robinson, within about a half a second of one another, are, well, one of 2 close battles that we have out on track at the moment. Nicholas Matcham here gets himself off track in the Audi, the number 68 Kellogg's machine, with Tony the Tiger on the door panel, and starting to see, oh boy, no, it gets worse. It gets worse. Let's hope it gets better, and it sort of does. Wow, one of those moments as a driver where you just wish you could hit the restart button and just go back and pretend like that never happened. Wow, that was extremely close. In all seriousness, that could have ended extremely poorly for some of these drivers here. But everyone so far is doing a fantastic job, keeping everything nice and clean here. We've got a driver down in pit road here as well, Andrew Neri in the 654. I would have to imagine here Some drivers, some drivers may be coming into pits here before too long. I would say about half of the oh boy, what do we got going on here? Christopher Norris showing that was behind them, so either way, either how, I do expect to see pit stops to be made here before too long, and probably, I think, another 10-20 laps for a good chunk of this field at the moment. We're going to have a good side-by-side battle here for the GT3s. It was side-by-side, as that was a good move here from Christian Glamsiter, I think that's correct. Here with Cripps Racing, currently sitting 5th place at the moment, and Christian currently hasn't moved from that 5th place spot since the start of the race here. So far, consistency playing in the favor here for Christian, as well as Finley Fitzsimmons and Marco Schmitz, and another driver here finding themselves off track here. I believe that was Blakis Robinson here in the 265 with Bong Racing Team. But while we have a little bit of a moment here, and while the field is getting themselves, drivers getting a little loose here and there, but we're gonna go ahead and roll with this anyway. Oh boy, we got a real slow car here on the track. Trying to find out who that is. Lofter Thompson here in the number 2 BMW gets off track here, falls down to the bottom of the LMDh tower. Oh boy, he's even in a spot that we can't see him here. There he goes. Back onto track, and right as traffic starts to make their way around, and someone asking, oh boy, oh no, Andrew Neri makes contact with another GT3 and into the wall right as I was reading a request here from chat asking to see the battle for 9th place. And here is our 9th place driver. Oh, unfortunately, very poorly timed broadcaster's curse, but perhaps this is the battle that you were looking for, maybe. The battle for 8th place here with Brandon Ray and Atticus Middleton. All right, so I've got a very interesting request here from chat, and I don't think I've ever had anything like this in my time of broadcasting, and I'm intrigued, so I'm going to entertain it. S. Ruthford, Jacob and Henry, 10 and 11 years old, are currently making a presentation to their parents for their own simulator. Come on, just mention these kiddos with a shout out, pretty please. Okay. So Jacob and Henry want to get a simulator, and let me tell you what, if, oh boy, Brandon Ray finding himself in trouble. Don't worry, I'll get back to that topic here in just a moment, as the number 22 machine is in a huge bit of contact here, and multiple drivers, oh, whoa. Hopefully everyone has their eyes open here coming out of the final turn, turn 12. As things could get dicey here as Brandon Ray continues to try and get that car restarted and back on the track here. What a close call, and what an interesting day here at Road Atlanta. Wow. But back to what I was saying, Jacob and Henry, if you have a mother, such as the one that my son has, who is not too fond of contact sports, sim racing is actually a great alternative to sim racing is a great alternative to contact sports or anything of that nature. But not only that, besides that, and all jokes aside, it is a really great way to learn about sim racing, well, about real life racing, and being able to connect with communities and other drivers and things of that nature, and have a great community to be with, and have a great hobby to be a part of. So it's a mixture of a bunch of different things, and they all come together to be a, well, when all of them are just the right mixture of things come together, it can be a great blessing for someone, or someones in this case, who are interested in the motorsport realm and want to be able to get into it without having to spend an arm and a leg to be able to get into it. So places like the Team Goon Squad Endurance Series are great places for people like that to be able to come and learn their craft, because believe it or not, there are drivers in the real world that aren't even old enough to have a driver's license. And if you are not familiar with that or knew about that, just let that sink in for a moment. There are children out there who are, and I say children, literally, that drive race cars and can probably go faster than you. But with all jokes aside, I think it's a great investment for anybody who is eager and willing to learn about motorsport, and, well, maybe not take it quite so seriously, but be able to have something to use as a tool in their ventures going forward. But with that out of the way, that's my shout out for today. That's you can clip that if you want, but that's what you're gonna get from me for now. Let's see if we can. So we're gonna go ahead, and now that we've got that a little bit out of the way here, we're gonna go ahead and talk a little bit here with David from Lap Zero Podcast. David, welcome to the booth. And David, I don't know if you are here racing in the race at the moment or plan to be, but I gotta say, it is quite an exciting day out here today, and man, I hope that this gives you guys some content to work with for your next show.
Yeah, thanks, Mason. Thanks for having me on. Someone needs to tell these guys we got another 2 hour and 10 minutes to go or so, right?
Yes.
This race has been crazy, man. These guys are full sim mode right now.
Yes, and in every sense of the word as well, and I'm astonished by it. We've got Dylan Meyer coming down here in the pit road for those of you watching at home, but yeah, David, it's just incredible to me to see the battles that are happening. We're only an hour into the race, just about an hour, and I mean, we're seeing guys just absolutely sending it left and right, it seems like. But it's, for me, being up here in the booth, just looking at my timing and scoring just go crazy. I'm having a hard time choosing what battles to talk about and really what action to choose to talk about. So I mean, David, what kind of things did you expect to see from today's race, and did it? I'm sure it probably did exceed your expectations, but I mean, what was the buildup like coming here into Road Atlanta?
Well, first of all, it's Road Atlanta, right? I mean, this track produces wonderful racing in real life and in sim. So coming into it, we knew this was going to be a banger, as I like to say. But what makes it interesting is the LMDh cars are so much faster than the GT3 cars. I mean, I'm used to watching endurance racing at Road Atlanta in real life and in sim, but these LMDh cars are screaming down the track. So yeah, I mean, just looking at the track map now, it is total chaos out there. So no, I'm happy to say I'm not in a car. I'm warm and fuzzy in the booth with my glass of lemonade and you, Mason. And hey, thanks for doing what you do, by the way. You Goon Squad guys are the best. So huge shout out to you for both hosting the race, broadcasting the race, everything you guys do. And thanks for doing what you do at League Zero too. That's where I'm normally in the car. And so you might have seen me wreck out last week.
Well, I myself, I think I might have seen that last week because I was there. I did broadcast that, but yeah, normally James East is the one that broadcasts the show for League Zero. For those of you that don't know or don't normally tune in for the League Zero show, but yeah, it's really been a truly great honor to be working up here in the booth and be able to bring on these shows and work with so many different leagues, so many different people, so many different drivers. It opened up my eyes as a motorsport fan, getting back into it after many years of never really fully investing into it, and then finally just saying, hey, you know what, let's get back into it. And here I am, nearly 2 years later, a sim racing sports commentator, and just absolutely loving every minute of it. But David, I mean, for yourself, you've got a little bit of experience as well. Well, I say a little bit, but you've got experience.
A little bit's right.
You've got experience talking about motorsports in the podcast setting and talking not only about sim racing but real life racing. So tell us a little bit about that. Tell us about Lap Zero, how you founded it, or well, how it was founded, and how you came to be a part of it, and what led you to this point here.
Well, I couldn't help but listen to you talk about Jacob and Henry earlier. I think that this is a natural progression for a race fan. I mean, I guess how I ended up here is I just loved racing, and then I found a way to love it even more, and that was by getting in a simulator and taking laps at my favorite tracks that I've been watching my favorite races at. It's taught me so much more about how these cars work, and about how much more goes into a lap in a race car at a place like this, Road Atlanta. When you're just watching it, it looks, I don't know, not easy, but it looks repetitive. But man, once you get in the sim, whoa, you get a whole new respect for all of this. And so, I mean, how can you not be passionate about it? I guess that's the better question. This was just a natural progression for me. I just can't get enough of it. So here I am on a Saturday watching virtual race cars drive around a virtual racetrack, and I couldn't be happier with my choice.
You know what? And I couldn't agree with you more. I took a day out of my work week to dedicate to doing this, and I wouldn't take it any other way. This is just, I love being a part of the Team Goon Squad group and being a part of this series and being able to bring on the show. And it's just, I'm right there with you, David. I'm a kid in a candy store, as they like to say. But so right now we're about an hour into the race, and I mean, from your perspective, from what I know, you mentioned a little bit earlier that you were more of an endurance race connoisseur, if you will. Earlier, what would you kind of expect here for the next 2 hours for these drivers, and what are you kind of seeing from some of the different teams out there on track right now?
Well, first of all, I think everyone's pretty thankful, or has to be thankful, that we just have two classes of cars on track. If you've ever watched endurance racing in real life, you know that it can be, I mean, total chaos. It's kind of hard to follow. I also like this format because we get to see only two classes of cars, and you kind of know what's a hybrid car and what's a GT car. And by kind of, I mean they look very different.
Yes, there it is.
But, you know, and like, I just got back from the 24 Hours of Daytona a couple weeks ago, and it was pretty hard to keep up with who was what, because you had GTD, GTD Pro, you had GTP, you had LMP2, you had LMP3, and they all kind of looked the same. And so anyway, like, yeah, as an endurance connoisseur, I actually enjoy these two class races because it produces similar racing. You still get that multi-class action and really close GT battles like we're watching right now. But at the same time, there's not always a car knocking at the door. I haven't done any practice for this race and these two classes, but I would imagine these LMDh cars are lapping the GT3s, what, every 10 laps or so?
Roughly,
maybe,
yeah.
Maybe 11 or 12 laps. And so, yeah, I mean, we're going to get some intense racing. I mean, there's not really a time where an endurance race settles down, I guess, because there's always pit cycles that you're drafting behind other cars, you're saving fuel. There's definitely a tax you pay by being a leader in a chain of GT cars, you know, as far as fuel goes. There's also a tax you pay at the back as far as overheating goes, or tire wear, or dirty air, or a number of things. And so there's so many factors that go into an endurance race. I mean, and that goes for all racing. You know, at the Lap Zero podcast, we talk about all kinds of motorsport. We talk about NASCAR. We talk about, you know, GT racing. We talk about Formula One, endurance. You know, we're going to talk about IndyCar, dirt. We talk about strategy. And really, that's the thing that all of these different types of motorsport have in common is it's a give and take, and the balance is so fine. And these cars are riding on the very thin limit of grip all the time. That's how you go fast in a race car. And so, yeah, man, no matter what you're into, endurance racing kind of gives me a little bit of it all. I kind of get to see the high downforce cars and the LMDhs. I kind of get to see that really close, not spec series, but kind of stock series GT3 class, where all the cars are really similar. They look different, but they, you know, due to balance of power or balance of performance, BOP is what they call it. If you ever hear that on TV, BOP, that's what that means. They balance these cars out to produce really close racing, whether it's limiting horsepower or adding weight or reducing fuel. And so there's so, like I said, there's so many things that go into endurance racing. It's hard not to love it, I think.
You know what, and so far from what I've seen and from what we saw last year as well, I'm right there with you. The endurance series, the endurance racing has been some of the most exciting that I've personally seen up here in the booth in a lot of my time here up here in the booth. I've seen a lot of road course racing. I've seen a lot of oval racing, and there's just nothing that quite gets the adrenaline going quite like endurance racing. And I think David, I think you hit the nail on the head on all of those points there. But man, I really I'm just on the edge of my seat looking forward to what we have going forward into the rest of today's race, and really what to expect. Well, not necessarily what to expect, but maybe what to kind of hope for going into, well, maybe the last hour of the race. Who's going to be where? Who's going to find themselves in a little bit of a pickle like Nick Terrell just did a moment ago? Just things like that. And so far, I would have to say that everyone in this race has done a fantastic job of not only keeping themselves in the race, but just not just calling it quits early and taking it behind the wall out of frustration or whatever the case might be. I think at the moment we only have, it appears to be, one driver that has actually taken it behind the wall and is out of the race at this moment. But so far, out of the 31 drivers that we've had show up for today's race, 30 of them are still here. So as a broadcaster, I love to see those types of things. But David, before we I don't think you have really anywhere to go at this moment, but
no, I'm hanging out. Like I said, this is the place to be right now. If you don't mind, these guys, if you have never watched an endurance race, whether it's 3 hours, hour and a half, 6 hours, whatever it is, there's kind of a little bit of an arc that's going to happen across the race. And when you get into this first hour, we get through pit cycles. Pretty close racing going on right now. But as we get through these pit cycles, these guys are going to settle in. I mean, they call it an endurance race for a reason. And while you're still pushing every lap, you have to pace yourself, right? You have to cross the finish line at the end of the 3 hours. And so, like you said, we'd love to see that there's still 30 cars in this race. Really, we're going to see some intense battles at the very end of this race. That's pretty inevitable. especially the last 30 minutes after everyone pits for the last time. That's when you're really going to see good racing. But keep in mind, even though this is a sim race, and as a guy who's done a number of sim endurance races between, 3-hour or 24-hour races, this is tough on the body, even in the sim. This is hard. Even if you have like a Logitech, G920 or a direct drive wheel, it really doesn't matter. Focusing for this long, like let's say you're doing an hour and a half stint in the car, that really takes some time. I mean, you got to figure out how to drink water on the straights, just like a real race car driver.
Yeah.
You got to figure out how to communicate with your spotter in convenient places. Your brain is working all the time. And just like these cars, I mean, I've heard people say like, oh, well, it's sim racing, like the car can't brake, like there's so many mechanical issues that you can't simulate. But like everyone who's done this has had like a USB device disconnect or Windows try to update while you're racing, which keeps the sim racing aspect, I guess, kind of immersive for me at least, because there are some unexpected casualties that happen during a sim race, just like they would in the real world. So yeah, I mean, like, gosh, I just love watching this stuff. I know, like right now, like I said, these guys are kind of settling in. If you're a GT3 driver, really, you're just trying to stay on your line. We should see these LMDhs, hopefully, in a perfect world, we should see the LMDhs making the pass, like kind of we just saw just now. And the GT3s are just going to kind of settle in. And we should see some really good strategy play out over the next hour, Mason. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm kicking back with my lemonade, buddy. This is about to get very mathematical for all of these teams. They're looking at fuel. They're looking at tires. During a pit stop, each one of those things takes a different amount of time. If you take less fuel and pit early, that stop's going to take less time, even though you could go further and run the car faster and a lighter weight. What's the payoff versus taking a 4-second pit stop versus a 2-second pit stop? That's a formula pit stop. That's where my brain normally is when it comes to but still, you can save those valuable seconds, and it's a give and take. And so here we go into that crucial portion of the race. Where as a viewer you can get a little distracted, but if you can stay on the numbers just a little bit, this is some of the best, at least for a strategy nut or a nerd like I am. This is some of the best racing money can buy right here, sim or real world.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you, because this is just getting me right on the edge of my seat, and my adrenaline is flowing right now. And for James East, who's actually chiming into the chat here as well, the 355 machine has retired for the race, and with a note of started driving sloppy. And David, I mean, this seems to be something that a lot of non-racing fans kind of don't really truly understand until they're in the seat themselves and they try and do a race for themselves, where like you were just mentioning, the exhaustion, the actual physical exhaustion and mental that you experience from these races, whether it's an endurance race or even being in some of the races that I've done a lot of, being on the oval, whether an hour on the oval, 2 hours, where you're just, I mean, yes, you're maybe just turning left, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. And frankly, you don't really truly appreciate how difficult it is to hold your arms up for that long in fighting your wheel for that long can actually be. It surprised me. It surprised me the first time that I realized that. I was like, wow, this is actually kind of exhausting. And folks, again, some of these drivers here, they are racing solo. They are doing this race all by themselves. James East was one of the drivers that was attempting to do that here today, unfortunately finding himself out of the race a little bit earlier than he expected to. But hey, that's how racing goes sometimes, and
that's racing, man.
Exactly. And thankfully this series is fortunately a platform for new drivers and for any driver to just come and get some experience, get some seat time in an endurance setting, in a professional setting, if you will. Having
Yeah.
live race control, broadcasting, which is a nice bonus, and just having an overall friendly and competitive field. It all just kind of meshes together and makes for a truly great experience, and I think probably one of the best, personally, in the iRacing service at the moment. So, folks, if you're tuning in, if you're watching this, and you want to get in on some of the racing here with Team Goon Squad, make sure you check the description. I do believe I remembered to put a link to the Discord in there. If there isn't, let me know in the chat, and I will gladly put it in the chat. But make sure you get yourself signed up. Whether you want to race as a solo driver or look for another team or race with a team, the option is all yours. And oh, close battles here, and there is contact. I'm not who that was.
That was the 16 in the 2 car. Man, that was intense. I was trying not to squeal in the background.
Michael Fairchild, the 16 driver with Sim Party Racing, getting a little bit too close for comfort there and able to recover it rather quickly. Very impressive there from Michael. Great control of that number 16. And, you know, David, I mentioned that I wasn't really able to get any seat time myself in this LMDh, and I've been kind of wondering what it's like to drive these things. They almost seem to drive almost like a Formula 1 car with the amount of downforce that they seem to have, and just overall just very great control and stability of these things. I don't know if you've had a chance or have the opportunity to drive one of these things yet, but it seems to be a truly great thing to have.
I've run it some. I'm not an expert on this BMW LMDh car, but it has aspects of a Formula 1 car. It has a lot of downforce. I mean, you can see the rear wing, but there's a lot of ground effect going on here too, with the barge boards and the floorboards, and how the air passes under the car, not just over the car. So yes, very similar to a Formula 1 car in that aspect. This BMW, this is a 90%. I'm pretty sure this one is running I want to say it's a twin turbo V8, a 4.2 V8. And so car's got a lot of power, and it also has a lot of adjustable assist hybrid settings in it, as far as how the battery discharges to help you accelerate and also decelerate in these cars. So there's a lot going on. And so, yeah, I have some experience. I haven't run a race in it yet, but I can tell you that it's more like a rocket ship or a spaceship than it is anything else. And it's a pleasure to drive, and it is insanely fast, I can tell you that.
Insanely fast is a great way to put it here, as we are going to get another ride on board here with a Lofter Thompson here. Real close here with another GT3 driver. Didn't quite catch the number on that one, but that's going to be all A-okay for these two drivers. They make their way through. That is the last thing you want to see as a driver. Holy.
I mean, look at the acceleration on that car, though, when he went past the GT3. I mean, these things coming through traffic, you really have to have your eyes wide open. And as you're noticing right now, I mean, this is a give and take. These guys in the LMDHs are not just pushing everyone out of the way. They're waiting their turn, as they should. And I'm sure we won't see that all the time. That's kind of part of sim racing. Is you race with professionals and you try to be a professional, but every once in a while, you know, we all remember that. We might be in our bedroom doing this, but really close racing. I mean, these guys, there's also quite a bit of draft produced by these cars. They rip a pretty big hole in the air, and so in situations like you're seeing right here where they line up, this is where we could see some very intense close racing for position.
Yeah, and I'm still very surprised at how close the racing has continued to be throughout this field. You know, I'll be completely honest. I was almost expecting to see this field spread out a little bit more and really start to see these guys kind of have, well, at least for the GT3s, have quite a bit of room to work with between the next position ahead of them. But here at Road Atlanta, it seems to be the perfect combination with these cars and this track. It seems to blend together just perfectly, as we are getting these I guess, batches of drivers where they're all just getting bundled up with one another. Traffic is getting a little busy in some parts of the track, and I think it's just making the dynamic here very unique and very, well, I would say probably a little sweat-inducing for some drivers here. And while we have that here, speaking of sweat-inducing, hey, we've got the battle happening for second place here. Dylan Meyer, Nick Terrell battling for the second place spot in the LMDh class. Dylan Meyer with the Weekend Warrior team going to take up second for a moment. Nick Terrell with Penn Sport. Oh, gets into the rear, almost gets into the rear. The GT3 there for a moment, able to recover from that, but now going to have a couple of lap down drivers behind him also trying to keep themselves in the mix of things. I think that's both. Nope, Daniel's down in pit road. I think that might be the end of Daniel's race here tonight, unfortunately. Very unfortunate to see that. I don't know if you caught that in the broadcast, David, but Daniel Beauchamp at the very, very beginning of the race just couldn't keep it together and unfortunately found himself down quite a bit here, and unfortunately, I think now at this point, out of the race, if I'm not mistaken.
I didn't catch that, but that's unfortunate. I mean, you see it every endurance race. I mean, inevitably someone's going to have some sort of terminal problem, and all you can do is get back out there, and there is a point where sometimes it's best to pull the car over, unfortunately, but a 3-hour race is a long race. It was good to see him get back out and give it a shot. I've gone from, in the 24 hours of Daytona on iRacing, I've gone from, 4 laps down to the lead lap in a, 3 or 4 hour period. You never know what's going to happen. There's so many things going on here, as you can see. GT cars all over the track, damaged cars on the side of the track. Anything can happen.
Yeah, Carlos Thiel here, the Ferd GT, as he's so eloquently put. Oh boy, it only gets worse here for Carlos. Trying to keep it together in that number 052, but it looks to be he's going to take the tow back to pit road, and that is potentially going to be it here for the 052 race here tonight with Team Ferd Blue.
Yeah,
Still love that name.
That Ferd car did not look very good.
Tried his best, but unfortunately wasn't quite the best he needed here today. But so far, I mean, oh boy, Daniel Beauchamp, another incident here in the number 9, it seems like, but still racing and still 10th place in the LMDh class. So, I mean, not exactly the worst day, and actually, surprisingly, he's only 2 laps down now.
We got a long way to go.
It's a very long way left to go here, and it's impressive to see the pace here that Daniel is putting down here at the moment and trying to see if he can put himself back on the lead lap, and I think I'm most likely certain that he will be able to after some time. But, man, I gotta say, the action is still brewing out here on track here at Road Atlanta, and so far Dylan Meyer and Nick Terrell are slowly but surely reeling each other back in here, trying to see if they can get themselves back into a little bit of a battle here for second place. And man, I gotta say, David, after an hour into this has been quite the broadcast and quite the race. Frankly, I wish I was out there on track right now.
Yeah, me too. This looks like a lot of fun. This is where Nick needs to make a choice. The 81 car needs to either take advantage of the draft. You got to stay within 8 tenths, 7 tenths, 6 tenths. You'll save some fuel. Consider that it's a long race and maybe rely on a good pit stop or pit cycle. You have to keep in mind that when these drivers battle, they do lose some time. And so if you can make the pass, like we might see here pretty soon down this straight, the gap's cut down to just about 2 tenths. It's worth a shot, but sometimes it might be better to just tuck in and do your thing. But, that's up to every driver, and every driver has their style. And as we see Nick go for the pass on the inside. He's not waiting around at all for that opportunity I was just talking about. So maybe Steve will take a page out of the playbook and tuck in and see how this strategy pans out.
Yeah, Nick
We'll
Terrell. Nick Terrell is not quite too patient here today, as it seems like we're getting a little bit of suffering a little bit of the blinky poos ourselves. Hopefully that gets itself worked out, but sometimes
that was a heck of a pass. That was a heck of a pass.
Yes.
Straight up.
Nick Terrell did a phenomenal job here in the number 81 and continues to charge hard here in that second place spot, trying to build a little bit of distance between himself and Dylan Meyer, the Weekend Warrior number 21 machine just behind him at this moment. And I gotta say, Nick Terrell and Team Penn Sport have done a phenomenal job here today, as the other Penn Sport machine out here, the number 24 of Alex Penn, also doing a phenomenal job here at this moment. And I gotta say, the entire LMDh class has done a fantastic job in really keeping the race exciting here. It's really been great to see the battles forming in between all of these drivers, and all of them trying to fight for position and really fight for, I mean, while it doesn't necessarily matter in the grand scheme of things, the points here for the championship, whether it's for the drivers or the constructors, but it is still nice to have that kind of bragging rights, if you will, at the end of the day when all things are said and done. But so far, I think it's been a healthy mixture of different teams, different drivers being the ones to take home the glory in the past two races that we've seen again at Sebring, and I forget the name of the other track that we were at. It was Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace. I believe that's how
Interlagos.
Interlagos, that's what it is. Haha.
There's more syllables than that, Mason. It's Interlagos.
Thank you. I'm
here for you, bud.
I'm slowly learning my.
I'm here for you, bud. That's what what the Lap Zero podcast does. We keep you informed. But we keep it real at the same time.
It's educational, but also informative. I love it.
Correct. That's absolutely right.
Well, I gotta say though, having you guys on board for today's broadcast and being a sponsor, it was a surprise to me, to say the least, but also just a great thing to see and great thing to have. Well, folks like yourself coming on board and being supportive of the series and wanting to be more involved with it outside of being a driver or whatever the case might be. But yeah, I definitely will be saving the Lap Zero podcast on my Spotify, and I will be giving a listen to that during my days at work. But in the meantime, I mean, hopefully this will give a couple good topics to talk about during the next one. And I mean, frankly,
I've got a few so far.
I would certainly hope so. It's been quite action-packed here already, and we're only an hour and a half into it.
Yeah, when I say we talk about all forms of motorsport, I mean it. I mean, sim racing plays a big part in our life. We will definitely be talking some about this race. I mean, how can you not? Yeah, check us out on all major platforms. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Pretty sure you can ask Alexa about us too. But like I said, we're getting out there. We just finished our 4th episode. We're going to be doing, longer discussions. We'll also be doing some special episodes, different segments. We're going to be getting a YouTube channel up and running pretty soon. We just wanted to create a platform for all motorsport news, speculation, rumors, developments, different technological advancements, and of course, juicy Team Goon Squad endurance racing. So we are looking forward to it. We're really happy to be here. I mean, dude, how can we not? Team Goon Squad's been great for us. Shout out to Mr. James East. And hopefully we can have some of you Team Goon Squad guys even join us on the podcast pretty soon, just like we're joining you here.
Yeah, that would definitely be great, and hopefully one day that might be myself. That'd be great. But it's great to have you guys up here in the booth in the meantime, and getting a chance to talk to us and being able to kind of get a first-hand glimpse at hopefully what we get to see next week from the Lap Zero podcast and from that from that juicy new episode. But
Sure. I'll have my people call your people, Mason.
all right.
We'll get together. Don't worry.
Sounds good to me. And I think right now it's a great time to take a little bit of a break up here in the booth, because it has been quite some time since I have taken a sip of water or any sort of fluids. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that now and let you folks at home enjoy the sights and sounds here for just a little bit. We're going to go ahead and take a ride on board here. David, pick a driver, pick a team, any driver.
Ooh, man, let's see. I'd really like to see let's see the number 3 pin sport car, like the one we're watching right now. Or wait, what happened? Did we get a pit stop that shuffled the good battle in the LMDhs?
I think there was. Well, it was a few laps ago. I think it might have been while I was jabbering. Looks like
Tell
Dylan.
you what, let me give some love to my co-host. My co-host is driving one of the cars, Norman King. And let me shout out my other co-hosts. They're not here tonight, but Antonio Bianchi and Levi Opitz. They are my other accomplices on the Lap Zero podcast. But maybe we should hop on the MSR Mustard Seed Motorsports green car just for a minute and see what they can do. I know they had a tough start to the race, but like I said, we got a long one ahead of us. Boys, keep your head in it.
Absolutely. Well, while they do that, and it looks like they're actually going to take a pit stop here for a moment. That's
not very good TV.
Great timing. We'll go ahead and we'll switch over here. We'll go to our original one. We'll go to Alex Penn here. And while we do that, we'll go ahead and take a little bit of a break here for just a couple minutes. Stay tuned, folks. Don't go anywhere. You're not going to want to miss any of the action that we have here, right here on Team Goon Squad for the 2023 Endurance Series. My name, again, is Mason Heimbaugh, bringing you all the action here, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Nice. Awesome job, dude. Do you mind if I hang around? Okay. I won't hang out the whole time. I'll split pretty soon, but I got nothing better to do right now.
Welcome back, race fans. It is the third round of the 2023 Team Goon Squad Endurance Series. We are here today at Road Atlanta. My name is Mason Highball, bringing you the action here today, and right now we're taking a look here with Alex Penn in the Penn Sport 24/7 machine, and sitting third place at the moment in the LMDh class. And sitting with me up here in the booth is David from the Lap Zero podcast. And David, forgive me, what is your last name so I can do a proper introduction here? Oh, I forgot to unmute you when okay, there you go. Now you can talk.
I said the last name's Kasai, and I'll give you $20 if you can spell it.
Kasai. Is it Kasai?
That is incorrect, but you're very close.
Ah, dang it.
Add another S to the middle. But yeah, that's me. One of the 4 wonderful hosts of the Lap Zero podcast. Happy to bring you today's race here at Road Atlanta. And I'm happy to be here, Mason. I'm just happy to be here.
It's a great honor to have you here, and it's just really makes me happy to have someone up here in the booth to chat with and talk a little bit about this race. And speaking of which, we actually have a co-host of yours waiting in the waiting room here. Let's go ahead and drag him in here and have a little bit of a word here with the second or one of the other hosts here of the Lap Zero podcast. Welcome. Welcome to the booth, and hopefully you are having a good day yourself. I know you mentioned that you were looking to possibly be up here on before your stint or after your stint. I don't quite remember, but either way, it's great to have you up here. How are you feeling?
Doing good. Just got out of the car. Been a tough race for us so far.
I believe.
We decided on that first caution to go to an alternate strategy and come in and get tires and fuel and extend the first stint to get clean, probably about an hour and a half for each driver, and got caught up in the back of the pack with the debacle on the restart and had to use our fast repair.
It happens, buddy.
You know, and speaking of things that, that happen, it seems to be that this has been a race of, attrition, really. There's been a lot of different things happening throughout the track, and it's been, me and David were kind of talking about it. It's been chaotic. It has been absolute chaos around the track, and I don't think you guys are the only ones that have been affected by just, the amount of traffic around the track and just really, again, just the pure chaos that we have seen here already. But it's an hour and a half into the race, and it appears, correct me if I'm wrong, it looks like Timothy Yax is stepping into the car for you guys in the 11 machine. Is that correct?
Yes, he is actually new to the team, and he's actually a rookie, so we're trying to get him some seat time and get him comfortable with the car to come onto the team full time.
Well, and this is the perfect series to do that, and I love to do the self-promotion, guys. Don't worry, but
give it to me now.
You guys picked a great series to join, to be able to bring new drivers in, and for anybody that is a new driver looking for something to get into that is open to anyone, whether it's new drivers or veterans. In the sim racing or real life racing world, we welcome everyone. We want everyone to have an enjoyable experience and be able to have an option for a professional series. I gotta say, it's something that you don't quite find in a whole lot of places. So I think it's a great option that we offer, and if it's not something you haven't taken advantage of already, I think you should do so as soon as possible. Anyway, guys, I think it has been a phenomenal race overall, despite things not going so well for some teams, especially for the MSR car. But I think all things considered, in the hour and a half that we've seen here at Road Atlanta, it has been quite action-packed, and I gotta say, I think I already said it to David, but I want to be in this race right now. I want to be driving it in some capacity, but that's all right. I will have to settle for calling the action and bringing everyone the show, watching at home.
That's okay. There's a lot of internal screaming that goes along with racing in an endurance race like this, so you know, you might save a few gray hairs by not being in the race. But yeah, still, I'm watching it is tough, especially as a teammate to Norman in the MSR car occasionally. Yeah, I wish I was out there too. Sorry, buddy.
It's all good. I will tell you this. Yes, there was a few words that I can't mention on stream yelled in my car. At the time, a lot of frustration. You know, we thought things had turned for the great for us with that caution, and we thought we had found not a loophole, but an alternate strategy that could really work for us. And it all backfired in our heads, and it all felt like it was coming back together till the end there, and I bent the car one more time into the wall. So, but we're gonna get her cleaned up here and get Timothy on the track, and told him to relax and go out there and have fun in his first endurance race and just get comfortable racing around these guys.
Absolutely.
No matter what, we're driving $1 million race cars in our socks, and so it's cool. You know what I mean? Like, good race or bad race. Not many people can say that they've driven an LMDh car in socks. Right? Am I right?
I'm blessed by God to be able to be up here and to do this. I have a blast, and that's all that matters, just have fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's the primary goal of this series, is for everyone to just have fun and to be able to hone their craft, be able to get that experience that they want in endurance racing, or even just in racing in general, whether it's something they're completely new to or something they've been doing for quite a long time. But we've got a question in the chat here. Robbie AR, who's racing in that number 2 car in the LMDh class? That is Daniel Locasano with the Quantum Pro Racing, the Canadian in the BMW LMDh here. Currently sitting 8th place at the moment, so hopefully that answers your question there, Robbie. But so far, folks, I think it has been quite the race here, and so I think we've reached that point, David, that we were talking about earlier, where drivers have gotten themselves settled out, and things are relatively calm out on track. Not really seeing a whole lot happening really anywhere at this moment. Everyone's got a little bit of room to work with here or there. Most of the LMDh drivers just navigating through the traffic as they normally would, and so far everyone's just keeping things clean and green, and I'm all for it. With just under an hour and a half left to go here in today's race, I think that's the best course of action here. But like you mentioned as well, David, it won't be long before we start to see things get heated up again as drivers start to turn up the dials and get themselves ready for the final battles before the checkered flag is flown here tonight at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, keyword's consistency here, Mason. And Norman, I think you made a good point without meaning to, the fact that you guys have a rookie in the car. You know, usually in endurance races, we see a mixture of talent in teams. This is speaking from like the IMSA WEC World Endurance Championship type of racing. We usually have, you know, professional drivers, but it's not uncommon to have a team owner, or what we call a gentleman driver, or a rookie, or someone else in the car. In a lot of series, you're actually required to have it. I think Norman could tell you more about that than I can. But this is the time in the race, this kind of middle point, where we see a lot of rookie drivers in the cars, because this is where you just want to take off laps and you want to be consistent. And the chaos has settled out a little bit. The damaged cars that were in the way, a lot of them have retired at this point. And so, like I said, the keyword's consistency, and I think it's really cool that we get to see some new drivers in the cars in this point in the race, in a sim race too. It's just like real life.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we're actually taking a look on board here with the new driver, Timothy Yax, in the number 11 MSR car, green, and we're getting a lap on board here with him and seeing just how well Timothy is doing here in his first few open laps here. And so far seems to be doing pretty all right, and hopefully we'll get settled in further as his stint goes on, but so far seems to be doing relatively smooth and just easing himself into it. And I think that's the name of the game here for a lot of new drivers that do come into this series, or really just any endurance series in general. Just kind of ease into it. Don't want to go full bore right out of the gate. and put yourself in a situation that you can't recover from, and put not only yourself but your team in jeopardy for the race and for points and what have you. But again, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, this series is not exactly all about the points. You can finish in whatever's position, and at the end of the day, it's not going to matter. It's all internet points at the end of the day. But it does give those who, well, frankly, like myself, who like to compete and like to be on top, well, a reason to do so. So if you are that type of person and want to have something to, well, have a championship to fight for, here's your place to do it. It is a...
Sorry to interrupt, man. I was gonna say, speak for yourself. I tell everyone about this stuff. I'll be hanging out with friends like, oh hey man, did you hear about the 3 hours of Road Atlanta? They're like, no. Like, it was on YouTube, and then I send them a link, and then they get to watch a broadcasted race with commentary from a guy like you, Mason, and I'm in the race car, dude. I'm saying, like, they may be made up internet points, but they count for something, at least in my little small bubble.
And that's... Go ahead.
I will let y'all know, I don't want to keep beating a dead horse with my car, but we also have technical issues with our rookie. He can hear our crew chief, but cannot communicate back. So not only is he in his first race, but he has no communications back to the pit wall.
Not an ideal situation, especially your first race. And and it's sim racing. We kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, David, talking a little bit. Wow, look at this battle that we have here.
Very close racing here.
Oh, great racing here. And some of these drivers are going to be lapped down, but either way, still close racing. Drivers are going to be on edge regardless, because oftentimes, sorry to kind of step away from the point of topic here, but sometimes you, as a driver, if you don't have your crew chief, which in this case Timothy doesn't, you don't know where you are on the track as far as position. You have no idea what's going on. All you see is drivers passing you or you passing drivers, and you have no way of knowing where you are on track unless you have it on your steering wheel, which some of these cars do have that ability. You're not going to know what position you're in, how far a driver is ahead or behind you, any sort of information like that. You are almost blind in the sense of in that regard. But for Timothy, being this his first race, not having the information of, hey, you need to come down into the pits at this lap, that can be a little problematic for someone.
He does get communications from the pit wall. He just can't communicate back.
Well.
So it's not that bad, but it's still bad because we don't know what his frustrations are or anything to help him in the race. What information he wants or what information he doesn't need.
At least his drink button is working correctly.
Good old Kimmy, I will never forget that. That will live on in history. I love that man. That man deserves a statue somewhere. But
well, hey guys, on that note, and Norman, I plugged the podcast plenty, but one more time, the Lap Zero podcast. I actually have to split for the day. It's a beautiful day here in Central South Texas, and I got to do some gardening today on a Saturday. So I'm going to hit that. And Mason, thank you so much for having me in the booth. Norman, we will see you. I forgot to mention, we try to release an episode once every about 10 days. We might go weekly, we might go bi-weekly. We're kind of settling into it right now. But just give us a follow on your favorite platform, and you'll get a notification when we add a new episode. We just released our 4th episode. We call it Lap 4. We talk a little bit about Daytona post-race, Formula One, King of the Hammers, all kinds of good stuff. So check it out. And again, thank you so much for having me up here.
Absolutely.
I'll be back later. I'll be in the background. I'm always watching.
Well, David, it was great to have you up here. It's great to talk to you, and hopefully we'll get to talk to each other again in the future. I do plan on doing these broadcasts about once a month is what it breaks down to roughly. But for the folks at home, it's going to be every other race that will be broadcasted here for the TGS Endurance Series. So just make sure that you guys get subscribed. get yourselves ready for the rest of the season. It's going to be a great one. And also, make sure you guys get yourself subscribed and following the Lap Zero podcast, again, on your favorite platforms. These guys have been great, and great to have both David and what was your name again? I have to ask because Discord is not very helpful in that. Norman, perfect. I would have not have guessed that on my own. So thank you guys both for joining me up here in the booth, and yeah, hopefully the rest of the race continues to go well. And Norman, I mean, hopefully for MSR Car Green, hopefully things get a little bit better, and you guys get a little bit better of a run as things go on here.
Yeah, thank you for having us up here. Real quick, just like to thank our sponsors, Mustard Seed and Engineering Performance, Organics Utopia, League Zero, the Lap Zero podcast, and Zamp Racing Gear for helping us out this season.
Absolutely. Thank you guys both for joining me up here in the booth, and hopefully get to talk to you guys again a little bit later, and I'll be seeing you guys around, hopefully here or in other
Mason,
places
like
around the iRacing.
I said I'm going to have my people call your people.
Oh, that's right.
We're going to talk again. Don't you worry about that. So just make sure you keep your email open. And like I said, we'll have one of our very nice assistants reach out to you. And by assistants, I mean me. So we'll talk to you soon, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. It's been a pleasure. And to both you and Norman, good luck to you guys, and hopefully get to talk to you guys again soon.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You as well. Alrighty, folks. That was David Kasai and Norman King, I believe was his name. Was his last name, if I'm not mistaken. But from the Lap Zero podcast, it was great to have both of those guys joining us up here in the booth, talking a little bit about what they do and what their experience is like here out on track, as we again continue to kind of just follow along with various drivers here throughout the course. We've got quite the spread out field at the moment, as you can see from the blimp camera here at the moment. So while all of that is happening, folks, it has been quite an exciting start to today's race, and now that things are starting to settle out here just a bit, or rather quite a bit here, we're seeing that battles on the track are starting to dwindle down. Most of the field really just trying to stay consistent, as we were talking about with David from the Lap Zero podcast. You know, consistency is going to be the key, going to be the name of the game, especially at this portion, at this section in the race. But with about an hour and 15 minutes left, things are starting to wear down to quite literally the final hour, and this is where the pressure slowly starts to work itself into the mix of things here. And for Brandon Ray, finding himself a little off track there for just a moment, but overall able to keep himself together. And Daniel Beauchamp, timing and scoring indicating he was involved in an incident here, but seems to be everything is a-okay here for the number 9, as looking on, oh, he is definitely a lot more laps than that. Okay, so he's gonna let lead lap traffic on by here. That was the 4th place driver, Dylan Meyer, in the number 21 with Weekend Warrior. And you can see on the track map here as well, a lot of our LMDh class is here on the top half of the track at the moment. right, so while we have time here and while things are settled out and everything is calm for the time being, I want to see if we can talk a little bit about our point standings at the moment. I think I'm looking in the wrong place at the moment. Let me... So right now, leading the LMDh class in points is Nero Virtual Racing. Second place is Penn Sport 24/7, the number 81 of Nick Terrell, who currently is the leader in the LMDh class. Francis Motorsport in the third place spot for the LMDh class in points at the moment. And looking at the GT3, Cripps Racing takes the lead with Green Valley Motorsport in second. Valhalla Motorsports in the third place spot currently for the GT3 points. Brandon Ray coming down into pit road with quite a bit of damage to the front end of that number 22 BMW. But here we have some good action developing between Brock Goodall, Jackson Sims. It's the number 77 down on the inside, able to keep Brock from closing in too closely. But Brock Goodall with Bong Racing Team 266 currently trying to fight his way into the top 5, and Jackson Sims with KFM Live RC Racing Team Red currently trying to hold on to that top 5 spot. As right now between them and fourth place driver Blakis Robinson, a good move here from Jackson Sims onto the inside through the chicane. Brock Goodall, the 266. Moves up into that fifth place spot across the line, as now Nick Terrell, or I believe that's Alex Penn actually, looks to work his way around the traffic. So starting to see pit road light up here from the LMDh class as drivers start to make their way into pit road. Nick Terrell having just made his way out of the pits, going to be back out on track here in the second place spot. Alex Penn now making his way down into pit road. A little bit of smoke there as he comes across the line, but nothing too serious. Brandon Ray having been in pit road for quite some time now after coming in for that damage to the front end that we can still see there. approaching that hour left mark here in today's race. And frankly, while we have quite a bit of time here before we start to see the field start to turn things back up here a little bit, we've got a few drivers making their way down into the pits here, it seems like. Although that might be drivers that have already been there, and indeed it is. That is a mistake on my part. But anywho, let's take a ride on board here with one of our GT3 drivers and give them a little bit of a shout out here. Let's actually give Jeremy Barber, one of the Team Goon Squad drivers here, one of our, let's say, intermediate drivers, still learning the ins and outs of road racing and endurance racing, especially here in the Lamborghini 308 machine with Team Lawn Darts. And let's take a ride on board here with Jeremy Barber, and let's see what a lap is like here with the 308. Robbie AR asking who's racing in the number 2 car for the LMDh class. That is Daniel Locasano, I believe is his name, with Quantum Pro Racing. Daniel Locasano, currently 6th place at the moment. good look at the battle that we've had here between Brock Goodall and Jackson Sims here for quite some time between the Mercedes and the BMW. Both fighting tooth and nail here for this 10th place spot here. Few drivers having gone down into pit road and have yet to come back out here. Daniel Locasano, the most recent driver to have gone down into the pits here and is still awaiting to exit. We'll see if that changes here before long, but at the moment, this is our closest battle that we have out on track here in the GT3 class, and for the most part, everyone else is rather spread out and having quite a bit of room to work with here at the moment. Bit of lap traffic here, it looks like, for Daniel Beauchamp, who's still trying to work his way through this field and still about 15 laps down, it looks like, at the moment. A very, very unfortunate day here for Beauchamp Racing, and I've got to say he had an impressive start to today's event, but unfortunately just ended in catastrophe. But still continues on, still charging on in the number 9, despite all of that, and even then is still 8th place overall. Well, not overall, but in the LMDh class is currently 19th overall. But that's neither here nor there. And here goes Dylan Meyer after over 6 minutes. Down in pit road, he's finally going to find himself back out. But going to be down quite a few laps behind the leaders. But fortunately, still going to be able to hold on to his 5th place spot for the time being. For how long remains to be the question remains to be seen at the moment. As right now, well, I think he'll be able to hold it just fine. But Daniel Locasano with Quantum Pro Racing, not sure if there's issues here in the number 2 machine, but making their way into their pit box right now. I thought they were already in pit road, but I could be wrong. Either way, either how, a lot of the field here starting to make their way into the pit. Scott Meredith here with 654 Motorsports here in the Porsche. Going to make his way into the pit box and begin his pit stop. There's a lot of other drivers here also trying to make their way in and out of pit road as quickly as they possibly can. Here's we're going to get another look here at Jeremy Barber in the 308 Lamborghini with lawn darts. Taking 12th place here at the moment. Nicholas Matcham here with serial offenders. The 68 Audi in big trouble here. Hopefully not too much damage here, and it seems to be that there isn't, as he's able to recover from that one and continue racing here. Jackson Sims and Brock Goodall continue to have an extremely impressive fight between these two for this 10th place spot, trying to crack their way, 4th place spot in the GT3 class. And James Vance with Vance Refrigeration. Wait. Sorry, that was a joke. Coming down here into pit road in the 87 machine with FMDR Esports team. Now making his way out of pits at the moment as that was catching the end of his pit stop there. But going to catch up right behind the serial offenders machine that we were just covering with Nicholas Matcham. And going to quickly make his way around and back out onto track here in the Marlboro the 87 machine here. So right now, if we're taking a look at the moment at our team points for the series so far, as we're now 3 races in, after the checkered flag here today, we'll be 3 races into it. Penn Sport 24/7 currently holds the lead with 1,241 points. Traumos, 2nd place with 1,070, and Bong Racing Team with 979 in 3rd, but it is a close battle for that 3rd place spot in the team points, as 654 Motorsports with 978 points, so only 1 point separating 3rd and 4th place. So great action. That is, well, unfortunately not able to be covered sometimes, but fortunately we are able to cover some of the races here this season, and it is a great thing to be able to do so because the action that we are getting here is absolutely astounding. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else at the moment. And Marco Schmitz in the number 27 Ferrari going to make his way out of pit road now, currently 5th place in the GT3 class. Going to try and make his way back out onto track here and continue his fight in the top 5. As we are now in our final hour of the race here today, and we will be getting ourselves ready for the action to start to heat up here, as some of the drivers have, I believe, there's actually quite a few solo drivers here that I can see at the moment, but that is a-okay. That is the purpose of the series. But here we're taking a look at Marco Schmitz and Oscar Jurgensen with Traumos Pink and Traumos Orange. Again, mentioning those teams in the team points as they hold 2nd place at the moment. Currently holding 5th and 6th place in the GT3 class. And again, that consistency is key here, and these drivers have it on lockdown at the moment. As a few more drivers throughout the field just taking the opportunity to come down into pit roads and get that fresh set of fuel as well as tires. Alrighty, folks. So as we are just a little bit over 2 hours into the race here and just under an hour left before we see the checkered flag here tonight, I want to take this time and I want to give a shameless plug to our Patreon. And I'd like to give a shameless plug to our Patreon. And folks, if it's something that you are interested in and would like to participate in and be a part of, it is definitely appreciated. And every dollar that we receive through our Patreon or through donations, whatever the case might be, it directly goes back into the league. It goes back into supporting series such as this. It allows for broadcasts like this to happen and for us to continue to put on series such as the Endurance Series. And it's just truly a great thing to have. And it's not required. Again, this is a free series, and nothing is required of anyone. So if it's something that you would like to be a part of, there are certain perks that you get as a patron member that we do offer. So that way there is a little bit of something that we give as a thank you for helping us and allowing us to continue to do what we do. So again, if it's something that you would like to be a part of, I do believe there is a link in the description. If not, there can be after the broadcast is over. Or actually, no, there is a link in the description already. So, folks, if it's not required of you, but if you would like to help us out, if you would like to be a part of our community, just a little bit more, maybe not any more than you already are, but just being able to help us out, and we would obviously greatly appreciate it in every way. So, again, the link is in the description, and you can check that out and see if it's something that you would like to be a part of. So with all of that out of the way here, folks, let's go ahead and run through our field here at the moment as it stands. And let's just go through our field, run through our standings. In the LMDh class, Nick Terrell currently holding on to the lead here for Pensport 81 and doing an absolutely phenomenal job here. James Vance sitting second place in the LMDh class in the number 87 FMDRE sports team machine here in the Marlboro paint scheme here. I love that paint. It looks great on that. Holding on to second place, and Michael Fairchild, with Sim Party Racing holding on in third place. Alex Penn with Pensport 27 sitting in fourth place at the moment. Dylan Meyer with Weekend Warrior sitting in fifth place in the number 21 machine. Daniel Locasano with Quantum Pro Racing in sixth place in the number 2 machine. Seventh place is Daniel Beauchamp in the number 9. Currently at this moment, after a little bit of a rough start, well, I say little bit, after a rough start to the beginning of his race here today. Brandon Ray in 8th place at the moment. So we start to get some drivers that are no longer in the race at the moment. But Brandon Ray in 8th place. Atticus Middleton with Random Squid Racing in 9th place. And Brandon Ray in 8th place is with TWR LMDh, just for those of you that are maybe wondering. Nathan Gardner with Neon Racing in 10th place. And Nick Adishvili with Nero Racing in 11th. And Andrew Neri rounding out the LMDh field with 654 Motorsports in that 12th place spot. Moving on into GT3, the current leader, Christian Glamsiter with Cripps Racing. Currently holding on to that lead in the number 18 machine. Marco Schmitz with Traumos Pink, the 27 Ferrari. Blakis Robinson with Bong Racing Team 265 in the Mercedes, holding on to third place at the moment. Brett Brent Kingcott with KFM Live RC Racing Team Red, currently holding on to 4th place in the 77 BMW. Brock Goodall with Bong Racing Team 266 in the 266 Mercedes, currently holding on to 5th place. Niels Blauwickel with Bluebird Racing in the 15 Ferrari holds on to 6th place at the moment. Darren Rutherford with Valhalla Motorsports in 7th place. Nicholas Matcham with Serial Offenders in the 68 Audi is in 8th place at the moment. Oscar Jurgensen with Traumos Orange taking 9th place at the moment. Christopher Norris, the Solo Man, in the 38 Mercedes, sitting in 10th place. 11th is Scott Meredith with 654 Motorsports in the 456 Porsche. Jeremy Barber with Team Lawn Darts in the 308 Lamborghini, sitting in 12th place. Renato Koisev with Traumos Yellow in the 127 BMW holds on to 13th. Tyler Anderson with Valhalla Motorsports in the 98 Ferrari holds on to 14th. Timothy Yaks in the MSR car green, the newcomer, with Mustard Seed Racing in the 11 Porsche holds on to 15th. Carlos Thiel in the 052 Ford with Team Ford Blue, currently out of the race here, holds on to 16th. Scott Cooper in the 19 Lamborghini with Rusty Shackelford Racing holds on to 17th. Finley Fitzsimmons, the 25 Mercedes with Team MFM, holds on to 18th. And James East with East Action Sports, rounding out the field of the GT3s. And Craig Lowen in the chat showing his support for his fellow Australians, and gotta give a shout out to the Aussies that are out here today, and shout out to my fellow commentator, broadcaster, good friend Gareth McAllister, who unfortunately isn't here today, neither on track or in the booth with me, so shame on him for taking time to be having fun and going on vacation, but anyhow, that's neither here nor there. That's a roundup of our field here, a good look at where everyone's at and where your favorite team is, favorite driver is, what have you. And I gotta say, things are still looking relatively smooth out here. We've only seen the one full course yellow throughout the entire race, and that was due to the fact that there was a car stopped right smack dab in the middle of the track, and not an ideal place to have that happen. And it was right, I believe, right at the entry there of turn 12, the last turn of the track here. But so far, everything seems to have settled back out here for the most part. And again, drivers just trying to get themselves locked in, ready to go for the final under 45 minutes that we have left here at Road Atlanta. And I gotta say, it has been an action-packed day here, as Daniel Beauchamp gonna make his way into the pits here in the number 9 Beauchamp Racing machine. And what I assume will be probably the final, well, probably not final, probably at least 2 more pit stops that these drivers will make. Maybe 1 for the GT3s, probably 2 for the LMDhs. I'm not 100% confident on that, so feel free to correct me for those of you that know a little bit more about the stint lengths for these cars at Road Atlanta. But I'm not going to call myself an expert on that, even though I guess technically as a commentator I guess sort of I should be, but whatever. Starting to see a little bit of action develop here out in the midfield here for the GT3s, as some drivers never mind. I thought I started to see some drivers in the GT3s starting to pit, but that was incorrect. Anyhow, Nicholas Matcham, Oscar Jurgensen. Yeah. Anyway, close battles forming up between these two drivers as, again, less than 45 minutes left in this race here. Drivers having to turn the dials up, trying to get themselves as much performance as they can out of this final hour, this final stint. And again, for a lot of these drivers, most of them, well, not most of them. That might actually be not far from incorrect here. A lot of these drivers are driving solo, so to kind of demand that extra bit of energy out of yourself can be quite challenging after 2 hours of racing. And for a lot of drivers, at least from my knowledge, from my limited knowledge of endurance racing, is that most drivers usually have stint lengths of about 3 hours on the high side. I'm sure some guys can probably go longer. Wouldn't want to, but I think it's usually about 3 hours per driver, and that's quite a long time to be behind the wheel. And after that, you're not only physically exhausted, but you're mentally exhausted. Like myself and David were talking about, and mostly David was saying, you get drained physically, mentally. Your brain is just on high alert 100% of the time. You're having to work overtime to keep your attention going. It's very, very easy, at least for someone like myself, as a newer driver when I first started, keeping your attention when you start to get comfortable behind the wheel. It's very easy to get complacent and, again, like I said, to get comfortable and to make mistakes, critical mistakes that on race day will cost you not only your position, but probably your entire race in itself. So, it's one of those things that, like I mentioned in our conversation with David, that a lot of people that aren't familiar with motorsports or that don't understand motorsports, that's one of the things that they don't necessarily see. And it's a conversation that I've had with folks before in the past, that race car drivers aren't athletes, and I strongly beg to differ on that subject. And it's something, these are things that they just don't get to see, and it's hard to convey to someone who isn't familiar with it. It's a very foreign concept, I guess you could say, and it's kind of like trying to explain colors to a blind person. So with that being said, so as we are just a little over half hour left before we see the checkered flag here today, I just want to take a moment here. I want to thank each and every single one of you who has tuned in here today and is watching the show, talking with us in the chat and interacting with all of us. It is truly great to have you all here for what is really the first broadcast of the 2023 endurance season. So it's great to have this kind of turnout and great to have this much support for these drivers and for the series in general. So thank you all for tuning in, and hopefully you guys continue to stick around, or at least keep yourself nearby for when the checkered flag flies, because it is not much longer before we see that happen here today, and you don't want to miss it. So right now, your leaders, Nick Terrell in the LMDh and Christian Glamsiter in the GT3s, continue on with their fights to stay in their respective spots. And while that continues to happen here, folks, I want to take a moment here and let's have another lap on board with some drivers here and just have a listen to the sights and sounds and just enjoy the race here at Road Atlanta. So with that being said, let's take a ride on board here with Daniel Beauchamp inside the number 9 machine from the helmet camera. And let's get a different look here at what it's like here at inside an LMDh here at Road Atlanta. Great perspective to look at here as Daniel Beauchamp going to pass Jeremy Barber and continue on his way here. But folks, it is a really exhilarating feeling to drive one of these cars or something similar to it. The closest thing, well, the closest thing that I've driven to a car like this is the LMP, I believe the LMP2. The Dallara P217, I believe, is the one on iRacing, and as well as the Mercedes W12 Formula One car. So both very fast cars in their own right, and this one definitely included in that regard. So extremely fun cars to drive, extremely challenging cars to drive, and even more challenging to master and perfect. So props to all of our drivers here today, and to everyone who showed up, and to everyone who's still participating. Really, for starters, thank you for putting on such a phenomenal race, and for allowing myself to be able to bring the action here today and put on a show for everyone. But without the drivers, without the teams, it would not be possible. And I remember when I first started doing broadcasting, or well, around that time, when I was hoping that one day we would have fields like this to broadcast for our own series, and here we are, and it's a great feeling. I love to see it. So I hope to see the action continue to grow, see our fields continue to grow in numbers, and hopefully allow that to grow and prosper into something, well, I think everyone will enjoy at that point. So it's great to see the success that we've had in the sense of a league, seeing the numbers that we've had, but definitely would love to see it grow and become a series that everyone is familiar with in the sim racing world. Mustard Seed Racing in the chat here as well, giving a shout out to the MSR Green car, as well as to Lap Zero Podcast, again, our broadcast sponsor for today's race. And again, a huge shout out to them, to Lap Zero Podcast, for being today's sponsor and for being a part of today's event, and allowing us, or in helping us put on this event here today. It's great to have the amount of support that we have seen in the past few, well, since this series has started. It has been truly phenomenal to witness the amount of support, the amount of drivers that come out and race with us. So it's great to see. But for everyone watching the broadcast, if you're not driving yourself, if you're just listening in and just seeing what we have to say up here in the booth, but for those of you that are tuning in as a spectator, as a family, a friend, a family member, a friend, Who's your favorite driver? Who's the team that you're looking out for? And who would you like to see come across the line here tonight, or at least take home a win in this series or in this race? Let me know in the comments. Love to hear your guys' feedback and who you guys are here rooting for, and see all the support from the fans, as we got some great racing on our screens at the moment. Again, while some of these drivers are not going to be battling for positions immediately, they're still going to be trying to work around one another, lead lap traffic, trying to get around down lap traffic, so on and so forth. It's going to be a mixture of drivers all over the place, and we're already seeing that. And we can take a look at that again here on our track map here as well. You can see just a absolute scramble of drivers all over the field here, and it appears that we have Atticus Middleton. Whoa. Right on the blind spot of the hill here as well. Not an ideal place to be. Able to recover from it and get the car moving here again, but wow, that is definitely a sketchy spot to be in at that moment, but luckily able to recover from that one. So Daniel Beauchamp right now currently sitting 7th place in the LMDh class. And looking at things right now, he's only, I believe, just about, well, actually, now that I'm looking at it further, Andrew Locke in the number 87 BMW with FMDR with the FMDR Esports team has taken it behind the wall here in the number 87, and it appears that is going to be the end of their race here, which, back to my point, Daniel is very quickly going to work his way back up into 6th place, and potentially, I don't think he's going to quite be that lucky here, but luckily for Daniel, he is going to work his way back up into nearly the top 5. 6th place, I guess, is going to have to do for him here tonight. But really great to see a bit of a comeback here for Daniel in the number 9 BMW. I myself haven't had the chance to see Daniel race in quite some time, so it's great to see Daniel as well as other Team Goon Squad members out here racing, such as James East, Jeremy Barber, Andrew Neri, Finley Fitzsimmons, Carlos Steele. There's a lot of great drivers here, and it's truly great to see how large the TGS family has grown over the past, gosh, almost 2 years, probably over 2 years now at this point, and it continues to grow by the day, and it's a great thing to be a part of. So for those of you that are looking to get into sim racing, want to be a part of it in some way, in some form, Team Goon Squad is definitely a good place to start if you want a friendly and great environment to be a part of, and with a lot of helpful people, a lot of helpful information, and clearly a great series to be a part of as well. Again, free to enter, so no cost to you. Boy, Daniel, that's you know, I don't think they intended that to be that. That's not part of the track layout. I don't think they shortened that chicane there, Dan. You'll have to run that one again there, bud. All jokes aside, Scott Cooper also having a little bit of trouble here. Ooh, boy, that Lambo has seen better days. The number 19 Rusty Shackelford Racing Machine going to find itself down in the pits and potentially going to be the end of their race here today, as Daniel Locasano going to have some trouble here as well in the Quantum Pro Racing number 5 machine. Looks like potentially some big trouble here for Daniel Locasano, as seemed like he was might have had some connection issues there for a moment. I'm not 100% certain on that, but we won't speculate on that too much, as at the moment it seems to be Daniel is relatively safe at the moment, ignoring the LMDh behind him. That's, I believe, that is actually Michael Fairchild, the third-place driver in the LMDh class, making his way around Daniel Locasano at the moment. So Daniel doesn't have too much to worry about in the way of getting past or in anything like that, but Oh. I don't know if that was just my eyes deceiving me for a moment, or if that was a car on the bottom of the track. Either way, still continuing on with our race and starting to see the mistakes flare up here as we enter into the final half hour of today's event in the 107 Random Squid Racing Machine here with Atticus Middleton behind the wheel. Oh boy, that's a great shot. That was a great shot of the field. Oh man, coming up on him. Anyhow, Atticus trying to get himself back in order here, as he's going to be quite some laps down at the moment, and really trying to just keep himself and Random Squid Racing in the mix of things here. But there, Michael Fairchild trying to work his way around traffic here, as well as I believe, oh, that's Daniel Locasano that we just were talking about a moment ago. But speaking of other LMDh drivers, Alex Penn going to be one of them here as he makes his way down into the pits to get what will be his final set of fuel and tires. And I'm surprised I was correct on that one. It will be it was a two-stop that we were expecting here in the last hour. But with my guesswork out of the way here, there's still more action left to be seen that we're waiting for, and I gotta say, at the moment it is quite calm out here on track for a lot of these drivers, as no one's really in danger of getting themselves into a bit of trouble here at the moment. So So at the moment, we're watching with the leader, the overall leader, as well as the LMDh class leader, Nick Terrell in the Pensport 81 machine. And Nick Terrell having done a phenomenal job dominating this race so far, along with his teammate Alex Penn in the Pensport 24/7/24 machine. Both of these drivers have done a phenomenal job keeping these keeping both of their cars in the top 3 throughout tonight's race. Michael Fairchild with Sim Party Racing also included in that mix there, keeping themselves in the top 3, as we're going to see Christian Glamsiter. Little off track here, just on the exit of, I believe that was turn 7. There we go. I was going to say 5. I suppose that would have been... No, that would not have been close enough. Anyway. And a shout out from the chat here. From Nicholas Marshall, Go Sim Party Racing here. A shout out for Michael Fairchild and team as they continue their fight here for the second place spot in the LMDh class. But with some tough competition around them and quite a bit of distance to be closed. And for actually, now that I'm looking at it a little closer, a lap to be unlapped here for Michael Fairchild in order to get up to Nick Terrell. So Nick Terrell has done a terrific job keeping himself in the lead. And not only is Michael Fairchild a lap down from our leader at the moment, and given Michael Fairchild is the second overall out of the entire field, there is a minute 45-second gap between Michael Fairchild and Nick Terrell. So if that tells you anything, it's that Terrell is just absolutely dominating today's race, and I'm going to be very excited to talk with him after things are all said and done here, because what a phenomenal race that we've had here today, with just under 20 minutes left here to go. I would say, given the past couple races and the finishes that we've seen, let's see if we can... Okay, I was hoping to get a list of drivers per team, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do that quite right now. And hopefully, I will be able to compile a list for next race and give you guys a little bit more detailed information about the season, about how things are going for each team, for each driver, and just a little bit more inside information aside from what I have available to me right now, which is admittedly a little lackluster, given that we've only had 2 races aside from this one that you're seeing right now, but assuredly there will be plenty to talk about the next time that we see each other on the broadcast side of things. And speaking of which, the next time that, whoa, little bit of traffic here. Michael Fairchild, Alex Penn both, or excuse me, not Alex Penn, I believe Daniel Locasano both getting by GT3s there. Jeremy Barber going to be one of them. But as I was getting back to here, the next time that we will all see each other again won't be the next race on March 11th, which is 2 weeks from today. It will be March 25th, which is exactly 30 days from today. So, or excuse me, 28 days from today. So we will be meeting up at Okayama International Circuit Virtual Japan, where we will see 3 hours of Okayama. 2 weeks from now, drivers will be heading to Virtual Virginia for the Virginia International Raceway for 3 hours of Virginia there. So, again, when we meet again, there will be quite a lot to talk about and to discuss. And frankly, I am looking forward to it. It is going to be some great racing that we have, not only here, but at Okayama, another similar track where I think action there could be even a little bit more chaotic than what we've had here today. But we will just have to wait and find out, because it is quite a ways away before we see that race happen anytime soon. Daniel Locasano making his way into pit road here in the number 2 BMW. Currently sitting 5th place in the LMDh class. Atticus Middleton going to have a little bit of a moment here with Random Squid Racing. So Marshall, Nicholas Marshall, so for this league, it is not actually, well, I guess it's not really necessarily a league in the sense of it's an iRacing league. It is something that you join our Discord. I believe you sign up on one document that we have in a chat somewhere on the. I'm explaining this very well. Join our Discord. You'll grab the endurance roll. And from there, there's a bunch of links. One of them is a sign-up sheet. You fill that out, and on the day of race day, there will be a session that is put up in the hosted session, so it's not under leagues. It is in hosted. There will be a password given to everybody, again, on the day of, right when the session opens, and then everyone is allowed to join in on said day. So it's made to be as easy and as simple as possible. And again, anyone is free to join. It is a free-to-enter series. It's just the only requirement is that you join the Discord, get yourself signed up on the spreadsheet or on the get yourself signed up with the document, and you're off to the races, quite literally. So again, folks, to any of you, anybody watching the series, if you are an iRacing subscriber, boy, oh boy. Driver's starting to cut the chicane here just a little bit too much here, but back to my point, if you are an iRacing subscriber and you want to get in on some of the action here with Team Goon Squad and the Endurance Series, make sure you join our Discord. Get yourself the Endurance roll in the Discord, and make sure you sign up with the links in the appropriate channel. There is a section in the Discord that is purely dedicated to the Endurance Series, and will have all the information that you need, and also hundreds, quite literally hundreds of people that are all there and able to help if you have any questions and need any assistance. So plenty of helpful people, and usually it'll be probably one of us that usually responds. So while it's a lot of people in one single Discord, it's usually a small group of close individuals that are they're communicating, and well, they're on a daily basis. It's our hangout spot, I guess you could say. But on that note here, folks, it has been a tremendous M Chief 99. We're not gonna talk about it. I'm a little confused about. I might have missed something here, but hopefully it wasn't anything too bad. Unless he was talking about Atticus making his way through the chicane, then I guess we're that makes sense, but I'm not confident on that. You might have to correct me. But Daniel Beauchamp, though, still trying to chug along the way his way through the field here as best as he possibly can. He's still got, with just about 11 minutes left in the race here, he still has about 7 or 8 laps before he is back on, well, into the top 5. Not even back on the lead lap, but just back into the top 5 here in today's race. And speaking of strange things happening here, Dylan Meyer gonna take it down into pit road here after a bit of a crash. Let's see if we can get a quick look and see what happened here. Coming through the S's, and I think he might just make a little bit of contact with the grass and into the wall. And quite a bit of a spin there. Dylan's probably going to be a little dizzy climbing out of that number 21 machine, but unfortunately going to find himself down in the pits after that one. Nick Terrell still doing a phenomenal job keeping himself in front and trying to just close this thing out with only now about 10 minutes left to go here. He knows there's not much left to do other than just stay focused, and again, that word consistency comes in. So with a lot of this field having spread out quite significantly and to the point where there's not going to be any battles happening across the line, I don't think, unless something happens here, a miracle really, that we see that happen. But so far, it's going to be a matter of just keeping yourself in the game, keeping your head in it, and not letting yourself get comfortable or too, well, in my case, a lot of times, is getting a little too excited and making silly mistakes, if you will. Finally reaching the point of knowing that you only have a lap, 2 laps left to go, and all of a sudden, you're taking a corner just 10 miles an hour too quick, and it's the end of your race, right then and there. And for all of you, if I can speak English properly, for all of you that are watching that maybe used to not pounds and miles per hour, I do apologize. I cannot do those conversions in my head on the fly like that, so I do apologize. Taking a look here with Brent Kingcott, the KFM Live RC Racing Team Red Machine driver. Currently sitting 4th place at the moment, and just about 13, 14 seconds separating himself and Blakis Robinson just ahead of him in the 265 Mercedes. as there is a lap driver just ahead of him at the moment. But with only just a few minutes left here, it's only just a matter of time before they see that checkered flag come out, and it is going to be the end of their race here today. And as far as points are concerned, in the GT3 class, Cripps Racing is going to be rather pleased, I think, with their results here today, as at the moment, taking that first place spot, that is going to give them a nice push in points for the GT3 class. So great work here for Cripps Racing. Traumos Pink going to take that second place spot. So far, again, this is all theoretical, that everything goes smooth here between now and the next five or 6 minutes. And Traumos Pink, again, currently sitting, looks to be 8th place right now in the GT3 points. So looking for a better result this week. And Bong Racing Team 265 currently sitting in that 5th place spot, also going to be looking for a little bit of a boost after tonight's race. For the LMDh class, however, it is Penn Sport week, as right now both the Penn Sport drivers sitting in the top 3 at this moment. It is looking quite good. But for Penn Sport 81, they currently sit 2nd place in the LMDh points, and Alex Penn with Penn Sport 24/7, the number 24, sits 6th place at the moment. So Nick Terrell doing a fantastic job here today, and gonna tack a win under his belt, as it's going to be a great race here for Nick Terrell and for Team Penn Sport, and for the 81 driver, as they have just crushed today's race. I'm assuming a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of practice has gone into today's race in order to get that result, because I can tell you right now, it is not something that comes easily or just out of pure skill alone. It is just simply not that simple. So just a few minutes left here, folks, and right now every driver, the only thing in the back of their head at this moment is don't mess up. Don't make any silly mistakes. Don't put yourself into the wall trying to gain 1/10 of a second on a turn. As we're going to take a moment here, just taking a ride on board here for the next, well, maybe a lap or two, with Nick Terrell just getting a little bit of an insider look here. But again, oh boy, this is the exact thing that you don't want to see. As there was another driver getting off there. It looks like Atticus Middleton continuing to fight his machine here today, as Nick Terrell trying to make his way around a bit of lap traffic here. And like I was just saying a second ago, that's the last thing you want to see in a class that's, well, really supposed to be on the lookout for things such as that. And great work from Nick Terrell for being on the lookout for that. But point being, it's the last thing you want to see as a driver get out in front of you and, well, potentially cause a wreck here. But Nick Terrell doing a fantastic job and showing that he's got the skill here to take home the win for not only his class but for the overall. And that is going to be a great feeling here, I'm sure, for Nick Terrell, as he's only got, I think, less than, 2 or 3 laps before we see the checkered flag flown here today. So Nick Terrell doing a phenomenal job, getting a little bit close to the sand there. Christian Glomstetter, the current leader for the GT3 class, also going to look to secure a win for his class here. As we enter just a minute left and someone's off track there big time. Off into the sand, and it looks like they've already recovered. If not, I think that was Atticus Middleton again. Random Squid Racing not having the best end to today's race, and hopefully after today we'll have a little bit of, a little bit of practice and little something to work on and to come back next race. I already forgot where we were going next. Virginia. To take to Virginia, which, frankly, Virginia International VIR is a beast of its own. It is definitely a track that I have struggled with in my time in road racing. It's definitely not an easy track to master, and it's definitely a good one to learn if you feel like you need a track that you just want to pull your hair out in, and sometimes. But that might just be my experience with it. Your mileage may very well vary. But here we go. Wow. Great action here as we have now passed the 3-hour mark. And I suspect a checkered flag will be flown here before too long, I believe, once the leader, Nick Terrell, gets a little bit closer to the checkered line. I think that's when it will fly here, but time remains to be seen here as we've still got drivers all shuffling around one another, traffic and what have you. Oh boy. Little bit of trouble here as there are some battles happening here for the GT3 class with Christopher Norris, Nicholas Matcham, both going to be involved here. And there we see Atticus Middleton, the one getting involved. I think he got a little contact from that off track as well. Nicholas Matcham off track, facing the wrong direction. It's calamity in the final laps here. As the checkered flag is flying, Nick Terrell takes it across the line for the win here. Michael Fairchild looking to secure that second place spot in the LMDh class here as he's about to work his way across the line. Alex Penn, third place, will take it across the line for Penn Sport 24/7. Michael Fairchild for Sim Party Racing will take it across the line in second place. GT3, Christian Glamstetter with Cripps Racing takes home the win for his class. Marco Schmitz with Traumos Pink, the 27 Ferrari, will take it across the line here for the second place spot. Blakis Robinson looking to secure third place here today. And unfortunately, folks, I am a little strapped on time here today. I was not expecting the bit of delays that we had here today, but that is going to conclude our coverage here today of the Team Goon Squad 2023 Endurance Series, round number 3 here at Road Atlanta. I gotta say, it has been fantastic and phenomenal racing here today, and I hope each and every single one of you has enjoyed the action here today as much as I had. It has been truly fantastic to be here today, and hopefully I get to see each and every single one of you who tuned in today tune in about 28 days, in about a month, to the race at Okayama. 3 hours of Okayama at Virtual Japan. It is going to be a doozy. Great racing to be expected here as we get a good show of Nick Terrell trying to do a burnout here in the LMDh. Cooks a little too hot here. Sends it into the wall. But folks, I thank each and every single one of you for tuning in and showing up here for tonight's race and being a part of it, whether as a spectator, as a driver, whatever the case may be. It wouldn't have been possible without all of you folks. So thank all of you for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you all here in the very, very near future. If you haven't got subscribed already, do so. Like the video, we always appreciate it. And again, for those of you that are interested and would like to support the series and the league a little bit further, head on over to the Patreon listed in our description of this video, and head on over and see if it's something that you would like to be a part of. Again, every dollar goes towards supporting the series, other adventures throughout the Team Goon Squad universe, if you will, with real life racing and sim racing alike. So really thank all of you for the great spectacle that we've had here today and for tuning in. And on that note, again, my name is Mason Heimball with Team Goon Squad, bringing you the action here today as Jeremy Barber sends it into our race leaders here today. Thank you all for tuning in, folks, and I hope to see you all in the next few weeks. Thank you all, and see you next time.
Oh, Pearson gets into the 95 of Folks. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona, and away we go for the first time. Nicholas Morcel, Sean.
Looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Dom's, possibly a little bit of contact.
Now, as we've got 3-wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
Nice to go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
See just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
Smooth stuff. Cody Graham's the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Oklahoma International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons.